Sally Field, the iconic actress who captivated audiences in Norma Rae and Forrest Gump, now at 78, confronts the most challenging period of her journey. This two-time Oscar winner, celebrated for her remarkable strength and authenticity, now wrestles with physical difficulties, isolation, and persistent memories. How did a Hollywood legend known for her resilience find herself facing such adversity? What stories hide behind that warm smile and those expressive eyes that once mesmerized millions? And are these struggles beginning to dim the brilliance of one of cinema's last true icons? Today we explore Sally Field's extraordinary yet turbulent path, from her triumphant career to her current years that leave observers deeply moved. This is a story of survival, transformation, and the price of fame that few truly understand. The darkest moments of Sally's life began not amid Hollywood's glamour, but within a modest Pasadena dwelling where stormy nights rattled the tin roof. The walls peeled with age, cold and bare, and in that cramped space, young Sally huddled on a narrow bed, listening to wind whistle through door cracks. The silence there wasn't peace, but the chilling language of neglect. Born November 6, 1946, Sally arrived into a world of contradictions. Her mother, Margaret, a Paramount actress, constantly rushed between film sets, chasing roles and recognition. Her father, Richard, a stern World War II veteran, remained emotionally distant and often physically absent. When Sally turned 4, her parents' marriage crumbled like old paper, leaving her adrift in broken circumstances with no anchor to hold on to. Reassure proved even more devastating. Her mother remarried Jock Mahoney, a charming stuntman whose private behavior became frightening. At 13, Sally's trust shattered through violations she couldn't articulate, leaving her to endure silently. Her mother's indifference compounded the trauma, creating layers of pain that would take decades to unravel. In her 2018 memoir, In Pieces, Sally revealed these wounds scarred not just physically but emotionally, making her feel completely invisible, as if she existed in a world where no one could truly see her suffering. She described herself as internally screaming while nobody listened, and that silence defined her childhood as an endless darkness. Years later, she would realize that this pain, while devastating, would also become the wellspring of her most powerful performances, giving her access to emotions that many actors could only pretend to understand. School drama classes offered Sally an escape route. Acting wasn't ambition, but survival itself. On stage, she could become anyone, expressing forbidden thoughts and emotions that had no place in her home life. Each teenage performance became her lifeline, a way to breathe when the world felt suffocating. A 1960s high school gathering changed everything when a talent scout noticed Sally's distinctive presence, something raw and authentic that couldn't be taught, and invited her to audition at Columbia Studios. That invitation pierced through darkness like a narrow beam, opening unexpected possibilities. But the darkness hadn't finished with her yet. Yet darkness hadn't finished. In 1963, at 17, Sally faced an unwanted pregnancy following a graduation party encounter. It wasn't love, wasn't protection, only confusion and overwhelming pressure. Her stepfather coldly arranged everything, sending her to a shadowy Tijuana clinic with no warmth, no tenderness. No explanations, no comfort, just a trembling young girl in unfamiliar surroundings, carrying away deep emotional wounds that would never fully heal. Her mother remained absent throughout, choosing distance over support. That emptiness hurt worse than physical pain, becoming a permanent mark of abandonment that shaped how Sally would view love and trust for years to come. Nevertheless, from these unhealed fractures, fire began rising. Pain didn't destroy Sally but transformed into determination, a fierce resolve to never be powerless again. In 1965, at 18, Sally appeared on screen in Gidget, portraying the cheerful surfer girl with radiant energy and infectious optimism. Fan letters flooded in by the hundreds, transforming her into America's beloved girl next door. But for Sally, that spotlight was merely a mask that paid bills without satisfying her deeper artistic hunger. The emptiness gnawed at her even as the world celebrated her charm. 2 years later in The Flying Nun, she wore an oversized habit that made America laugh and fall in love with her innocence.
Within months, Sally became the nation's darling, appearing constantly on television, her face everywhere. Yet, beneath that comedic surface lay a golden cage, beautifully decorated but still imprisoning. Hollywood trapped Sally inside a stereotype. Sweet, adorable, whimsical. Nothing deeper. With every compliment about her charm, Sally felt another piece of her soul denied. Another layer of her true self buried beneath expectations. In her 20s, when everyone assumed she lived the dream, Sally made a seemingly career-ending choice by walking away. From 1968 to 71, despite lingering fame, she refused every sitcom script. For 3 years, she vanished from screens, not resting but studying acting's essence. She immersed herself at the Actors Studio under Lee Strasberg, where performers stripped facades and confronted deepest wounds. In those rehearsal spaces, Sally learned channeling childhood scars into every moment. It wasn't just practice, but survival. Hollywood proved merciless. While absent, they mocked her, claiming sitcom stars never become real actresses. The cruel rumors felt like a sentence, a judgment on her worth and potential. Sally doubted herself too, wondering if perhaps they were right, if she was fooling herself with impossible dreams. Depression and eating issues gnawed at her, leaving her feeling like a drifting shadow, barely present in her own life. Then 1976 arrived like a storm, unexpected and transformative. The TV drama. Sybil told the harrowing story of a woman with 13 personalities, each splintered from childhood abuse, each one a fragment of a broken soul. Sally embodied all 13, shifting voices and postures instantly, channeling her own buried trauma into each distinct personality. One moment she was a trembling child, the next an innocent girl, then a fierce, rage-filled persona. Sybil left audiences breathless, critics stunned, and Sally clutching her first Emmy in disbelief. Hollywood no longer dared call her the Flying Nun. She had transformed into a genuine artist, proving every doubter wrong. That turning point led to the summit. In 1979, Sally portrayed Norma Rae, a small Southern mill worker who dared challenge union oppression. On screen, Norma Rae's fierce eyes weren't mere performance but Sally herself, the woman once silenced now speaking for millions. At 33, Sally stood at the Oscars gripping the Best Actress statue. It was more than professional victory but vindication after a decade of mockery and struggle. Sally continued embodying memorable roles. The grieving mother in Steel Magnolias, the tender ex-wife in Mrs. Doubtfire, and the devoted mother in Forrest Gump. Each character revealed new depths of understated yet unbreakable strength. Even at 66, she stunned audiences again. In Lincoln, Sally transformed into Mary Todd Lincoln, noble yet tragic. The performance earned another Oscar nomination, proving art born from truth never becomes outdated. If the screen showed Sally as the embodiment of indomitable womanhood, behind stage lights she remained human, wounded, grappling with voids no role could fill. That path began in 1968. At 22, Sally married high school sweetheart Stephen Craig. It was simple, unglamorous, built on hopes for peace. 2 sons were born, Peter in 69 and Eli in 72. Their presence brought Sally unprecedented joy. But even that light couldn't mend quietly widening cracks between husband and wife. The distance rose quietly like a tide. By 1973, at 27, the marriage couldn't be saved. Divorce finalized 2 years later. There was no scandal, only private pain. Her first great lesson: love isn't always refuge. Then, in 1977, at 31, Sally met Burt Reynolds on Smokey and the Bandits set. Within 4 days, sparks erupted into blazing passion. The public adored their image as Hollywood's golden couple. But behind glamour lay a different story. Burt, the era's most powerful male star, brimmed with charisma but deep insecurities. He could be charming one moment, then cold, suspicious, and dismissive the next. When Sally was invited to play Norma Rae, Burt bluntly claimed she lacked talent. Those words cut deeply, even after that role earned Sally the Oscar in 1980. Bitterly, Burt refused accompanying her to the ceremony. She later admitted constantly trying to prove her worth to him, seeking validation that never came. In her memoir, Sally wrote that Burt made her feel small and controlled, diminishing her achievements while building himself up. She stayed not from blindness but hope that love could heal, that somehow her devotion could transform what he refused to face within himself. In 1982, they parted quietly, not with dramatic confrontation but with exhausted resignation. Sally left not because love ended, but because she chose self-love first, finally recognizing that she deserved better than crumbs of affection. Nearly 3 decades passed without contact, years of silence stretching between them like an unbridgeable chasm. Only near his life's end did Burt call, his voice aged and trembling with regret, saying she was the love of his life, the one who got away. By then, too late. Sally could only respond that she'd put down that love long ago, having learned that some doors, once closed, should remain that way. In 1984, at 38, Sally married Alan Greisman, a calm film producer who respected her career. After years in Burt's controlling shadow, this marriage felt like a fresh beginning. The early years brought rare peace. In 1987, when third son Sam was born, Sally called it pure happiness. Sam later became one of Sally's greatest prides. When he came out as gay, it wasn't a revelation creating distance, but a bond drawing them closer. Sally didn't just accept it, but embraced it wholeheartedly, becoming a strong voice for the LGBTQ community. Gradually, though, serenity gave way to quiet distance. Not betrayal or scandal, but slow erosion, where two people drifted into separate emotional worlds. By 1994, at 48, Sally recognized the signs. Divorcing Alan wasn't collapse, but a clear-eyed decision to preserve herself. In a 2024 interview, Sally half-joked she was never good at picking partners. But she emerged from this second marriage not with a shattered heart, but new strength. She still believed in love, but no longer at the cost of losing herself. Just when she believed heartstorms had finally passed, fate struck its most brutal blow. In autumn 1988, at 42, Sally stepped aboard Merv Griffin's private plane in Aspen. Moments after leaving the ground, the engine stalled. Gravity slammed downward. The plane lurched before plowing into a parked jet. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. Smoke engulfed everything. Sally's hands trembled so violently she could barely unfasten her seatbelt. In dense smoke, she groped for loved ones but heard only crushing silence, thinking her story would end there. Miraculously, all 4 survived with minor injuries. Yet not every wound bleeds. In following weeks and months, the merciless memory wouldn't release her. Every night it replayed like a broken reel. Outwardly composed, inside the crash had rewired her. Friends noticed her voice grew lower, her gaze deeper, her patience stretched wider for smallest moments. The accident left no visible scar but carved into her a truth. Life is fragile as thread, and every breath following is both burden and blessing. Today, Sally Field lives like a long exhale, light and unhurried after decades bracing against storms. Her home overlooks the Pacific Ocean where every sunset stains the water gold. Wealthy with an estimated $50 million, Sally chooses simplicity over display. Her daily rhythm is simple. A vegetable-rich diet keeps her youthful. Yoga maintains flexibility and mental clarity. She's made peace with aging, no longer wrestling with mirrors or Hollywood's harsh beauty standards. Now, a grandmother 5 times over, she bends over gardens, helping tiny hands plant flowers, plays chess, and reads fairy tales with the same gentle voice that once captivated millions. Her 3 sons remain her greatest pride. When Sam came out, it deepened her understanding of unconditional love, leading her to become a powerful voice for equality, receiving the HRC's Ally for Equality Award in 2012. Sally has never stopped fighting for women's rights, partnering with organizations to amplify women's voices globally. In 2019, she marched with Jane Fonda for climate action, even accepting arrest, proving age cannot silence the urge to speak out. Health reminds her of life's limits. In 2005, Sally was diagnosed with osteoporosis. Instead of keeping it private, she launched the Rally with Sally campaign encouraging early bone density screenings. In daily life, she embraces mindfulness, walking instead of racing, yoga at dawn, wholesome food instead of fleeting indulgences. She's spoken of mornings when joints stiffen, but instead of surrendering, she smiles in acceptance. The public now sees Sally only when it truly matters. To fight, to share her story, to remind the world that survival isn't the same as living fully. The golden Oscars on her shelf have been replaced by children's crayon drawings taped to the refrigerator. In 2018, she released her memoir In Pieces, calling it a gift to the little girl once silent, afraid, and desperate to be loved. In the Pacific dusk, Sally sits on her deck, sometimes sipping tea, sometimes holding a grandchild tight. She has endured abandonment, broken marriages, fame's harsh gaze, and the quiet war against an aging body. Yet every morning she rises to the sound of waves, laughter, and a life she built with her own hands. The stage lights may be dimmed, but the light within her shines brighter than ever. Sally Field is not just a Hollywood legend, but living proof that from shattered fragments, a human being can be reborn.